Hey everyone, Calliaa here. So I've been gone for maybe about a week or so now. Actually, my grandfather passed away last week, and at the same time, I came down with a cold. So it's been kind of a bit of a rough week or so. Still, honestly, not feeling 100%, but I really wanted to make another video. I'm having kind of fun doing this, so wanted to try to get something out there. But if you do still hear a little bit of scratchiness in my throat, no, that is just from the cold that I've still kind of recovering from. But anyway, so I do actually want to do something a little bit different today. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm still pretty new to playing Pokemon, the TCG anyway. I did learn how to play sometime last year. I bought like a theme deck that was kind of like a Target or something. And they give you a little code and went online and actually learned how to play from playing some theme decks online. Kind of had fun with that format for a little while, but if you've played theme decks, there's only so much you can really do with those before you kind of get bored with the format. They're not doing theme decks anymore, so there's nothing new coming out. So I only played that for a couple of months, but it did kind of at least teach me the basics. It wasn't really until I more recently started collecting Pokemon Go, which I figured I was getting all those code cards. Why not try to actually build a standard deck? Because I was having fun with the theme decks. Maybe standard is more fun. I'm not totally new to card games. I did play a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in high school. Played some Magic and Hearthstone a bit, but really everything pretty casually. Pretty much always was one of those kind of people, didn't follow the metagame. I just kind of played whatever I liked with whatever I had. But I've really been having a lot of fun playing Pokemon TCG. I've especially been having fun playing them in person. I've gone to a couple different local game stores where I've been playing pretty much every single week for the last maybe 2 months or so. And I'd really like to get better. So I thought it could be fun to do a Calliaa Learns to Play series type of thing. Really, in this series, I feel like one of my problems is not only do I just not have a ton of games under my belt in general, but I'm doing a lot of switching around between decks. So I thought maybe what I could do is dive into maybe two or three like standard decks that I really like that are decently competitive and really try to learn them, learn some of the matchups, figure out some of the mistakes that I'm making. And in these videos, thought I can do a little bit of commentary as I'm going, then maybe do some editing on the back end as well to talk about some of the mistakes that I feel like I'm making that I maybe didn't notice in the moment. That way you always all can kind of come on a journey with me and learn along with me of maybe how to hopefully play a little bit better. That's the hope anyway. And actually thought I'd start by revisiting a deck that I did recently. If you did see my most recent video, I actually took a look at this Kyurem Palkia deck. And I said in that video that I had been planning on taking it to one of my local game stores. It's the one that's a little bit more competitive. They've actually had some people that do go to regionals a little bit. I think they've had people that have qualified at for Worlds before. I don't think anybody that plays this super highly necessarily, but do play decently competitively and decently seriously and everything. So I was kind of hoping that maybe I could actually do a little bit better. I'd only been going to that store for a couple of weeks now. So far, I haven't managed to get a win against everybody, and I was hoping that this deck would be my first time to maybe get a win. Well, it didn't go so well. I wound up kind of getting completely blown away yet again. So I really think that a lot of that came down to, one, the fact that I didn't know this deck very well. I had only had a chance to play it a couple of times before I went to the event. And, I actually think the deck build itself maybe has a little bit of issues. I'm not going to pretend that I'm some kind of deck building expert. But again, I felt like as part of this series, it'd be good to kind of, do some deck tweaking, play around with some things, and then, again, give a chance to talk about some of the things I feel like worked, some of the things that didn't. So again, I figured I'd revisit this deck and show you some of the changes that I've already made to this deck a little bit and talk about why I wanted to make some of those changes. So the first change I made was to take out some of the VIP passes. So Battle VIP Pass, obviously a pretty good card, but, after that first turn, it is pretty useless. And one of the problems I was having with this deck, both in the games in person that I played, and then when I did play a little bit more with that same build online, is the deck does have a tendency to kind of brick relatively often. There's not like a stable draw engine in this deck. You don't have Comfeys, you don't have Bibarels, you don't have Empoleon. You've got only one of these Crobats. So there's a lot of times, especially later on in the game, where you're just dead drawing these Battle VIP passes when I was running 4. So I tried to address that concern in some of the picks that I put into this deck, and I also tried to address another concern that I was having as well. I was finding in different types of matchups that I was wanting to switch my Pokemon around a little bit more often than I could easily do with this deck. So, Kyurem obviously discards a decent number of its energies after it attacks. You don't necessarily always want to be attacking with Kyurem, so there's certain times where you want to switch from Kyurem to Palkia. Maybe you need to switch to Radiant Greninja to be able to pick off some stuff that you've used Star Portal to get the Moonlight Shuriken off with. Or maybe you need to be switching around between Empoleon when you are going up against those Lost Zone decks. So again, in trying to address some of those concerns, I didn't go crazy with the changes here. I didn't want to change up too much. All I did was take out 3 of those Battle VIP passes to get 2 trekking shoes, give me a little bit of extra draw, hopefully, to help me out of some of those dead turns. And then also a Bird Keeper. Bird Keeper, I'm not sure it makes sense, but again, I figured I'd just give it a shot and see how I feel about it. Obviously it's a way to draw cards, but it's also a way to switch around your Pokemon as well. So I think it could help maybe address that dual concern that I was having of wanting to be able to switch around a little bit more, while also not bricking quite as often. With that said, that's really all the changes that I made. Again, I just figured I'd get into a couple of games and really, again, try to dig into exactly some of the mistakes that I feel like I'm making while I'm playing this, so I can really try to learn not only the deck better, but the game better as well. All right, let's dive into this first game. Looks like we're going up against a Zoroark, so this will actually be a pretty interesting matchup. I've never played against this specific matchup with this specific deck. I do feel like we've got, hopefully, a pretty decent matchup here. They are running, obviously, those double turbo energies. Will probably make it a little bit more difficult to deal with the Kyurems. One concern is that he is going first here, so he'll get that first evolve. Our Kyurem is, relatively low HP. It can be potentially knocked out, and we don't have any other basic Pokemon. So we'll want to probably find something with our Ultra Ball just to have a backup. They've got a decent setup on their first turn. This is making it a little bit harder to knock things out, but the Zoroark does have relatively low HP too. I'm probably going to discard this energy. That helps us set up a Melony for next turn, and we do have a bucket. So probably just going to get rid of the Not sure what I want to do here. I think I want to get rid of the switch in the energy, because we're going to use the bucket to go get more energy. Question is, what do I want? Maybe I do want the bat for a little bit more draw. I feel like I probably don't. This is one of those situations where I'm honestly really not sure what I might want to do. I mean, I am a little bit worried about getting this Kyurem knocked out, so I kind of want to get another Kyurem ready to go. I think I do. I think I'll go with that. And with the bucket, we'll go ahead and get a couple more energies. One of the things I definitely should have done with that Ultra Ball is checked for more of what's in the deck. I am going to equip here. That might be a mistake. Oh, I forgot, we do have Melony for this turn. We are going second. So this, again, might be a mistake that I'm putting so much into there, but this is fine. Looking back on this play, I talked about it being maybe a mistake at the time, but I do actually think this was the right one to go with. It was risky. There were ways for the Zoroark to be able to power up, to be able to knock out our Kyurem. But the reality is this deck does not have a lot of draw. There's not a lot of ways to find the trainer cards that you need or the Pokemon that you need. So there was a good chance that if our Kyurem didn't get knocked out, that our current active one wasn't going to be able to get switched out. So then we were just going to be stuck with a non-powered up Kyurem with nothing that we could really do with it. Whereas on the other hand, they were almost certainly going to evolve, and they did need to find a way to either damage 5 different Pokemon to knock us out, or find ways to damage 4 of their Pokemon and get a Choice Belt. They did have a decent hand size there, but I think with how they played on their first turn, there was pretty good indications that they were going to have a hard time finding the exact pieces that they needed to be able to get all that damage across, especially since they had already benched 3. So again, I think this was probably the right move, again, with this deck that doesn't have a lot of ways to find cards that you need. Let's see. I feel like we're going to equip just like that because we do 120. Yeah, we don't want to overcommit our energies. We might get Marnied here anyway, but we'll see if I just get punished for this because he does evolve. He will have to find a way to damage a lot of things here. He's not doing a lot of damage to us just yet. Right, so he does find a Gengar. He's got to find a way to get that into the graveyard. Right now he's doing 0 damage to us. He doesn't have any damage counters on anything. He's got to find a way to get rid of that Gengar. Got to find a way to damage some of these Pokemon. So we do get Marnied. That does hurt. Hopefully we get another Kyurem VMAX here. We don't. But we do get the Irida. Still no damage. He could use his VSTAR. Which it looks like he is. That makes sense. There goes 1 damage pump. So we're going to have to, I think, discard 4 energy to be able to kill him. He does have 1 Gengar. He can do 50 damage to us. He's still digging for ways to be able to hit us harder. We need to find 1 more energy, which we can do with Irida if we really need to. Alright, so we know he's going to get rid of a Gengar for sure. Thankfully, he doesn't really have the bench space to do much. He might be able to scoop up something, maybe get 100 damage on us. Maybe 150 or 200 with some damage pumps. It is looking maybe a little close. He won't have any backup, though, if he doesn't manage to knock this out. Which he doesn't bench anything else. Yeah. Not a great showing there for him. Okay, so we're going to bench the Palkia. We're going to use Irida. And go get a Kyurem VMAX. And we are going to need an energy because there's none in the discard. So we're going to get a bucket. Evolve there. Get rid of the bucket. Okay, so we're going to get rid of the energy retrieval, I think, for a bat. So we want to fill up our hand a little bit more, hopefully draw in some more cards. Oranguru actually might be a little bit better. We can get another energy onto our Pokemon. I kind of like that more. So this is a play where even though getting the Oranguru didn't wind up mattering, I still feel like it was correct to grab the Crobat. It would have given us the opportunity to see more cards, which would have given us better chances to kind of set up for anything that might have happened on our opponent's board. Again, it doesn't really wind up working, mattering. You know, our opponent's obviously not in a great situation. They're fully benched up. Nothing is damaged. They have 1 card. They've used their VSTAR. They're unlikely to really be able to kind of make some kind of huge play on their next turn to come back and like knock out our Kyurem. But I think I did get a little too focused on trying to be sure that I had a backup attacker set up for sure on my next turn, rather than just making sure that I was getting through more of my deck, which would have been almost certainly kind of the better play here, just in case this game had wound up going more than just the next few turns. Right, so let's use Primate Wisdom to put an energy on top. And then we'll use Glaciated Worlds to get that energy. I didn't realize I could attach that anywhere. Because we don't need it here, right? This is 200 plus 120. Yeah, we don't need it there, I don't think. So let's put it on the Palkia. Then we'll use Max Frost. I'm pretty sure we do need to do all that. Yeah. Oh, that was perfect pricing, actually. It was fantastic pricing. All right, so we know that he's got the VSTAR in his hand. He still doesn't have any damage. He can bring another Gengar back, but he's already used his VSTAR. He's pretty much just in top deck mode. The draws here helped set us up for next turn. We were honestly not in a great position. Like, our opponent didn't play as well as they could have, because they're not super well set up here. Alright, so we're going to evolve into Palkia V-Star. We do have energy to be able to put on different things, so we can power up here, and then also power up the Kyurem again. So I actually feel like we're going to use Bird Keeper here. And this is a situation where the Bird Keeper is certainly coming in handy. I want to bench another Oranguru. Honestly, I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and switch here. Okay, we'll quick ball away the VIP pass. Empoleon we don't really need. I feel like at this point, Greninja's not going to really help us against this kind of board. I kind of want to have another Palkia. I'm going to put that down. We can get all of our energy back. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to use Star Portal. We're going to get one more of our energies back, and we're going to have the Kyurem ready to go in case we need it again. Let's just have the Oranguru put in Oranguru, or maybe Irida would have been better there, actually. That would have helped protect us for next turn. You know, I actually kind of maybe want to get rid of the Oranguru because I know I don't really want it. Yeah, I think that's actually maybe good. Okay, and then we'll do this. You know, one thing I did forget to do is actually add up the damage for that. I'm really lucky with this pricing. Especially with the Gardevoir, I was just kind of making the assumption that I could get it. So I thought we knew our opponent for sure. I guess he discarded that at some point. He must have done it when he did his VSTAR. Yeah, okay. So I kind of figured that game was pretty much over. Our opponent didn't get set up very well in the first turn. I think there's still probably some mistakes that we made there. Might talk about that a little bit in the kind of editing phase. So it looks like for this next game we're going up against Clefairy. This is one of those hands where, you know, it's feeling pretty questionable, honestly. Hopefully our opponent doesn't just get super set up here. We don't have a lot going on our next turn, depending on what our top deck is. Things in this matchup we're going to be wanting to watch for. How many switch cards are they using? Okay, let's see. So I think we just want to thin the hand down a little bit to try to get a Crobat, because we really don't have anything going for us here. We can't Melony because there's nothing in the graveyard. Choice Belt's pretty useless in this matchup. We'll equip our energy. I think this is definitely a place where you can make an argument that those Battle VIP passes that I cut would be better off in the deck. You know, I would have had more of a chance to not only have had one in my opening hand, but potentially have drawn it here if I did have more of them. But I still feel like it was correct to cut those. You know, I was having a lot of games where I still didn't have those on my first turn anyway. And then I would draw into them later and I'd just be stuck dead even more. So I think there's still potentially better things that I could go for than adding back in those Battle VIP passes. But I do think that there is an argument here for why maybe more than one potentially makes sense. Something definitely for me to think about a little bit more as I'm tweaking this deck more in the future. Hopefully Crobat will get us something. It does not. So we're just going to use this to thin the deck slightly more and hope our opponent doesn't just completely blow us away. You know, this is kind of what I was talking about with this deck that I felt like happened really a fair number of times that I've played it, where you just have these opening hands where nothing's going on if you can't get rid of an energy. Because, you know, Melony is a great card, but only if you have energy in your discard, which you can't always do. So they are a little bit low on cards. Hopefully they don't have a switch here. Which, okay, they've got one. But again, they're very low on cards. Not what we wanted to see. Got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. They still need to find more damage. They're going to be able to retreat into another one. If they find the last one. I don't think it's going to be enough damage to kill us. Okay, but they do have the weird ear, which they just... Okay, I think we just lost. Pretty sure the weird ear just kills us here, because you just retreat into this. We're going to see what we get with our top deck, but the game's almost certainly over. I don't think we made any mistakes here. You know, maybe we should have put our Crobat in play, but we didn't know we were playing against this deck. Yeah, let's just... We'll just Melony, see what we get. Okay. So I think the only thing we could have done there is to have played the Crobat first, but we would have had to know we were playing a Clefairy deck, which obviously we didn't. And generally, I don't think that playing the Crobat first, just in case they're able to do something like that, is the best play, but maybe. Maybe. It would have kept us alive. We would have had the Palkia still. So it looks like we're playing against some kind of Wheezing deck this time. We are going to struggle against this deck a lot, actually. So we're going to have to find a way to be able to kill these Wheezings before they can get online. We've got another hand where we just have nothing going on again. So we will just pass. The more games I'm playing with this deck, the more I really do feel like it just doesn't have enough ways to make sure that it has what it needs early on. The last 2 games in a row, we've had hands that were just pretty awful. We're relying on a good top deck. So we are playing against a poison deck. We'll see where we're going to top deck here. This might just already be a game that's over. All right, we'll play the Irida. And I feel like we want to be sure we get a Kyurem down. And then we need to go ahead and get, I think, a Palkia down as well. So we'll grab a Quick Ball. I want to get some energy into the discard. Or you know what? I kind of feel like I want to get the Oranguru. We need to charge up quickly. And we're not going to have our abilities to be able to do that. So we'll get that down. We'll use a bucket. Put an energy there to the Kyurem. We've got another Irida to get a balloon to get this out of the active next turn. So we do want to keep that energy, I think, in the discard for now. I think that's all we can really do here. On this turn, we're almost certainly going to get severe poisoned. We're not really too worried about that. So I think with Irida, our opponent doesn't have a hand. They hopefully don't have anything to draw with. Maybe we want the Radiant Greninja to help us get some more cards in the discard, assuming we can knock out this Weezing. And then I do want the balloon to get the Crobat out of the active. The question is, how are we going to power this thing up enough to be able to kill this thing? So with the Oranguru, we can guarantee... Oh, God, our abilities are shut down. No, we can't do that. So I guess we can't get enough energy on just because of this... I feel like we don't want to give them the ability to get energies back. So we're going to just equip this here, I think. I'm tempted to just leave this into the active on this turn. It does set it up to be potentially knocked out a lot easier. I think I am going to do that. That might be a mistake. Oh, I forgot it's on checkup. Oh, God, I'm dumb. Okay, so there you go. There's one of those mistakes right there. You need to understand how poisons actually work. Because now it gets knocked out, I lose 2 prizes. That was just dumb. But we do get to equip an energy. Start setting up a backup attacker. You know, the Greninja, if we can ever actually power it, could be very good for us here, but that's going to be really hard. So we're just going to Max Frost. We got to discard 1. Really just hoping our opponent doesn't have anything. It was definitely a huge mistake there to not realize that I was going to get knocked out. It's pretty bad for us here if we lose that energy. So we're going to have to go find a Switch and a Palkia. Because we're going to have to be able to switch into this to get some attacks off. Luckily, he didn't have any damage. Okay, so we actually don't need... Or no, we still need to do it because we need the Palkia. Alright, so we grab Palkia. We're going to grab our Switch. So we'll switch into this. Get energies back with Energy Retrieval. No reason to bench this other Kyurem. Because there should be plenty of damage. Our opponent just has all the Weezings. They're losing lots of energies, though. Okay, good, the cram goes our favor. And there we go. Alright, so made a huge mistake with the Crobat. Didn't wind up affecting us in the end. Our opponent just didn't really have the draws. So from the mulligan, it looks like we are playing against another Palkia. So we got like a mirror matchup here. We don't have a choice in our starter. Our opponent is going first. Looks like we're probably exactly playing a mirror. We've got a Kyurem Palkia. I think this will be a good matchup here for us. They've got a really good start with their Greninja and their Oranguru. I'm probably going to do something similar, because we can also have the Quick Ball. We've actually got a great opener. They play Empoleon, so we're playing pretty much exactly a mirror, more or less. So let's use our VIP pass. And we're going to get an Oranguru and our own Greninja. See what's in the deck. So we've got our Kyurems, we've got our Palkias, our VSTARs are here. It's like buckets. I think one of the Evo Incense is missing. Like one of our Quick Balls. So we've got all our energies. Okay, so it looks like we got most of our important stuff. So we'll get this stuff down. Honestly, not sure boss is going to be hugely important in this matchup. See our specific prizes. So our vacuum, choice belt, trekking shoes. Not the end of the world as far as prizes. We're going to use the Greninja, get some energies in the discard. Okay, that's pretty good. So that actually frees us up to maybe not Quick Ball. Or I guess we still can. Maybe set up a second Palkia. Or maybe I want to bat here to see more cards. I don't really feel like I do. I do want to just set up another Palkia. We are helping them do a lot of damage to us, which is not great. One of the things I probably should be thinking about is how I can set up for my next turn to really do a lot of damage. We're just going to Primate Wisdom, put this on top. We want to make sure we can evolve next turn. Oh, the Irida is actually pretty helpful here. Gives us something to play. So we're going to force the opponent to Marnie us. Yeah, we're going to force the opponent to have to Marnie us. But that did shove away our Kyurem. I didn't think about that. Whoops. You know what? We're just going to roll a stadium, because why not? So, see, that's one of those small sequencing things that I still don't think about very well. We did set ourselves up to be able to take more damage. Let's see. Okay. I didn't see that coming. So the question is, can we power the Kyurem? We can. So I think we do that. Or I guess we don't have a Kyurem, because we didn't guarantee that we'll have it. Yeah, we've got no way to make sure that we can go find it. Do we risk it? I think we can knock him out with the VSTAR. Or no, we can't, because we don't have enough on his bench. Alright, well. See if we can go find it. Alright, so the Irida gives us our Kyurem. We could switch. And then guarantee the knockout. Which I think we'll do. He invested pretty heavily into this. We can punish him for it. Do I want the balloon here? I feel like I want to grab a balloon. Alright, so we'll do that there. And then we can retreat into our Kyurem. We only need to do 100 extra damage, so we only have to get rid of 2 energies. So let's equip an energy here. You know, let's actually do it this way. Let's do Primate Wisdom. We'll use Glaciated Worlds to equip the energy here. We will use our VSTAR. We want to make sure that we've got a follow-up attacker, I feel like. Which is more likely if we equip we'll just equip it here. I'm really just not sure here. And then we'll max Frost again. We only need to do 100 extra damage. Take the knockout. Okay, so we are playing a Kyurem. I was starting to think that we weren't, just because he hadn't played it. There's no way he doesn't have the VSTAR here. So he's going to evolve into VSTAR. Probably use it to power up the Kyurem, so he's got a backup attacker for next turn. We're not set up very well to respond. Okay. So I guess he doesn't have anything there. So we're just going to... Alright. So all our mistakes in that game didn't matter because our opponent just seems like they didn't get a great draw or hand there. Okay, so I think that's going to wrap us up for this first one. We went through a few games there. Definitely some mistakes that that I made. Gonna again try to go back and analyze some of those in the recording. But I think some recaps on at least how things went today. I'd say the tracking shoes did not help at all. Literally never played them at all today. You know, just never really drew them. Bird Keeper did come in handy. Still not totally convinced that it's something that's needed in the deck, but it did definitely help out the few times that we needed it. There were several times where I'm like, I really want to switch card here. I did find myself a lot of times looking at the Irida, wanting that switch card, wanting that air balloon. So the Bird Keeper is kind of a good way to be able to do that a lot of the times. Again, still not totally convinced that it's needed. I actually feel like one of the things that I might want to do, take out really both of these tracking shoes, put in one more quick ball. Honestly, maybe put in another Ultra Ball. Because I feel like I never have enough ways to get energy into the discard early. And a lot of times on those early turns, if you can't use a Melony, then you just have nothing going on for you. You know, like Irida is just so huge in this deck to find you what you need when you need it. And part of me is tempted, honestly, to drop a lot of cards and see if I can somehow sneak a Bibarel into this deck. But that's something to definitely think about more. I think for right now, still 2 issues that I'm really seeing is you want to make sure you've got that strong turn. You need to get a Kyurem down. You want to get a Palkia down. You know, ideally you've got the Radiant Greninja and the Oranguru, you know, down kind of in the first turn or second turn, because you've got to be able to evolve into these early. You've got to get that VSTAR ability going off to get those energies on, which means you need to get them into the discard. And your best way to be able to do that is, again, with the Greninja, with your Quick Balls, with your Ultra Balls. And if you just don't have those, you're just not doing that. So I feel like that's some of the things I would kind of swap out. You know, get more Quick Balls to get stuff in the discard, more Ultra Balls to get stuff in the discard, and see if that works out a little bit better. So with that said, again, that will kind of wrap up this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed that. You know, I've be looking at this deck a lot more. Probably do this maybe once or twice a week in between some of the other videos that I'm doing. Again, I really want to try to get better at the game. So if you like this, you know, go ahead and give it a like. Go ahead and subscribe as well. That'll help me know if other people are kind of enjoying this. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.